Criticizing McDonald's is not for the faint-hearted. The corporation is notorious for defending its reputation with legal action, and the prospect of a trial and damages has been enough to secure apologies from even their harshest critics. Many fear that this has led to a climate of self-censorship in which no one dares challenge McDonald's.
They told us basically you're bashing your head against a brick wall. Well, whenever we come up against brick walls, we like to knock them down. And I think we've done that.
A small campaigning group meets regularly in this North London office to coordinate protests on issues such as nuclear weapons and third world debt.
Kick off the meeting then. The district council meeting is going to be on, I think something like the 8th.
I'm really done with the minutes. No, it doesn't matter. No one's going to know.
The group wrote themselves into history in 1986 when they produced a leaflet called "What's Wrong with McDonald's?", accusing the corporation of everything from exploiting workers and contributing to heart disease to deceiving customers and destroying rainforests.
The McDonald's campaign has picked on a company that's so much in the public eye, that seems to symbolise a whole system, a whole way of life, a whole, you know, mass production, mass society, everything the same, you know, junk food, crap jobs. And to have a leafleting, an educational campaign against McDonald's is putting the alternative point of view. But of course I just had no idea what it would lead to. That later it would just completely take over my life.
Increasingly worried about the impact the leaflet was having, McDonald's decided to take action.
This guy turned up at the meetings who didn't quite seem to sort of, you know, fit in. He didn't really say that much about what his politics were. But at the time we just sort of thought, well, you know, maybe he's a policeman, but we're not doing anything wrong or illegal or anything, so, well, why worry about it?
I knew that Helen suspected that there were some kind of infiltrators in the group. And I said, don't be stupid, that's just something which, you know, you read about in books.
Over 18 months, the infiltrators worked their way into the group's activities, one even having an affair with another volunteer. At some meetings, there were as many spies as campaigners present.
You go in there and you're playing a role, you're trying to be very natural and not blow your cover, so to speak. My role was actually to notice everything that was happening, where it was being held, describe the place that it was being held in, the people who were there, what they were wearing, what their names were, and everything that was said, and in particular everything that was said in relation to McDonald's.
One of them wanted to get my address, and he asked someone in the group what my address was, because he wanted to send me some baby clothes for my son Charlie. And he actually sent these clothes to me, which Charlie wore, which I feel really disgusted with now, considering the purpose of that.
I think it was dark, and there was a guy standing in front of me as I stepped from the van, and he said, "Helen," and I didn't say anything because I didn't know who he was, and he just threw this envelope at my feet, and when I picked it up and opened it, it was the writ.
We believe that we have a very good story to tell. We have over 1 million customers a day in the UK who enjoy coming to McDonald's and trust us. We believe that to repay that trust, we have to establish that these allegations are untrue.
Helen and Dave faced a daunting opponent. McDonald's is one of the world's most successful corporations, with a $30 billion annual turnover and 35 million customers every day.
Good morning. Welcome to Hamburger University and to Advanced Operations course number 48.
Fiercely proud of their business and determined to protect their reputation, McDonald's offered Helen and Dave a simple choice: apologize for the criticisms made in the leaflet or go to court.
After the writs were served, we had 2 hours of free legal aid, which effectively meant being told you've got no chance.
For me, it just sort of really stuck in the throat to apologise to McDonald's. You know, I didn't think that we'd done anything that deserved an apology. I thought it was them that should be apologising to us. Well, not us specifically, but to society for the damage that they do to society and the environment. Even though, you know, we were being told it was like a virtually impossible battle, me and Dave decided to carry on and fight it anyway. Come what may, really.
It had taken 4 years of appeals and preliminary hearings for the trial to finally start in Court 35 of the Royal Courts of Justice, London. McDonald's had successfully argued that the case was too complicated for a jury to understand, and so the whole trial would now be decided by a single judge, Mr. Justice Bell. McDonald's hired top libel expert Richard Rampton QC at about £2,000 a day, as well as a junior barrister and about 7 solicitors and clerks from a leading city law firm. Dave and Helen were representing themselves.
The fast food company McDonald's has begun a High Court libel action against 2 environmental campaigners. They had printed a leaflet alleging that McDonald's products caused ill health and destroyed rainforests. But in court this morning, counsel for McDonald's said the allegations were totally false.
After the first few months of the case, we got a note out of the blue that McDonald's wanted to meet us any place, any time, and they would fly over members of their board of directors, which they did because they wanted to settle the case. It showed they were feeling on very weak ground, having heard, you know, the arguments up to that point. And they flew over, Shelby Yastro and Dick Starman, to have secret talks with us, me and Helen.
I think it would be a prerequisite to any settlement we make that we agree on how it would be portrayed. Because you're good at this precedent. And I don't want to get involved with it. I don't want to have to worry that you're going to go out and say, this guy flew over from America with a bag full of money. Or this guy privately acknowledged that it was just a stupid lawsuit. I can't take a chance that it's done twice.
I just felt I don't want them to be able to pull out of this case and then do the same to other people, and other people have to go through 5 years of exhaustion and stress and what have you.
They write their opinions about McDonald's. God love them for that freedom of speech. And how they say it. And we have a right to defend that paper.
So it's you know, it's quite serious to say to someone you can't hand out any leaflets full stop.
I don't think you ought to hand out leaflets about McDonald's. I think you've played that card. You know, you've done it. You've had your day in the sun. And I'm insisting that any comments you make about McDonald's has to be private.
We wrote them back a letter saying, you know, we would consider that if they agreed not to run any more advertisements about McDonald's, and said, of course, this agreement wouldn't prevent you from privately recommending McDonald's to your friends and neighbours, sort of thing. But they didn't reply to that one.
You think you're going to win the case. We think we're going to win the case. It's ironic that two sides could see the same thing and see it so differently. Of course, I guess that's true about a lot of the issues, too.
You're saying that the McDonald's Corporation which you represent is seeking to prevent us handing out leaflets which, in America, we'd have a constitutional right to give out.
I'm not trying to stop you. We're fine.
You are trying to stop us.
But no. But then forget it all. That's what the whole thing's about. Forget the settlement.
You know, if they'd come up with something that protected the right to free speech and compensated those they've sued in the past, and us, then we would have considered it. But there was really such a gulf between the two sides that they just couldn't bear to accept any of our demands, really. And so it was back to court.
Something of McDonald's media tactics was revealed by a leaked company memo from Australia.
We could worsen the controversy by adding our opinion. We want to keep it at arm's length, not become guilty by association.
So I do think it's been a public relations disaster. I do. It's arrogant. It's the arrogance of the multinationals to think that they can own and silence everything, and they can't anymore. Had that information continued to be distributed the way it was, it would have caused certain ripples in a very small way. By turning it into a libel case, quite obviously McDonald's have turned a major international spotlight onto the very thing they wanted to keep quiet.
This McSpotlight website is a library of information about the McDonald's Corporation, all the things they don't want you to know.
The website made over 20,000 pages of information available worldwide. All the daily transcripts from court, banned material from previous libel cases, and of course, what's wrong with McDonald's leaflets, now translated into a dozen languages and ready to be printed off.
We've taken what Helen and Dave did one stage further and made this available internationally for all time, never to be censored again.
With internet, with communications and technology progressing the way it is, and cable television and digital television and so on, there are going to be so many more accessible ways for information to be distributed around the world that companies, multinationals, will not be able to keep secrets anymore.
I didn't want to come and eat Ronald McDonald.
The 4-week trial had turned into a marathon for everybody. McDonald's UK Vice President was in court every day, and a stream of executives from both sides of the Atlantic were called to give evidence. After 2.5 years in court, the longest trial in English legal history finally came to an end. For both sides, there was nothing left but the suspense of a 6-month wait while Mr. Justice Bell considered his verdict. In the time that the trial had been running, McDonald's made profits of $3.6 billion, opening more than 6,000 new stores in 31 new countries. That's one every 3 hours.
Multinational corporations are money-making machines geared to making maximum profits and increasing their power and expanding. And the only way they can do that is by exploiting the world's resources, exploiting their workers and customers for the company's own needs. Okay, they might throw in a salad option on the menu to pretend they're concerned about healthy eating, but there's nothing really they can do because fundamentally they exist for that one purpose, making profits for their shareholders.
We have this enormous corporation, McDonald's, which is global in every sense of the word, and to me is acting in a sort of appalling manner against people who have raised perfectly legitimate questions. Now, anyone that might seriously be concerned about McDonald's products will take one look at their use of libel and the way they've used it to silence people in the past and think, well, hang on, I can't drag my institution, my newspaper, my magazine into all this, so they go and look at something else. And I'm just concerned that we have this sort of massive corporation that nobody dares speak out against.
It's very interesting to see that the courts have now recognised that government departments and local authorities can't sue for libel on the basis that it would stifle free speech. In my view, the same ought to apply for multinationals.
There's no question ordinary people should have the right to criticise multinationals, government agencies, anything that is being done that affects the welfare of their daily lives. The public should be in a position to make judgments for themselves because we're dealing with individual welfare, and I must be in a position to decide whether I want, and this is the basic thing when I walk down the high street, do I want to go in there and participate in an organisation which is doing the kind of things that have been exposed in the case? Do I want my children to go into a kind of organisation like that?
Right.
Mr. Justice Bell took 2 hours to read his summary to a packed courtroom. Helen and Dave had not proved the allegations against McDonald's on heart disease and cancer, food poisoning, starvation in the Third World, rainforest destruction and bad working conditions. But they had shown that McDonald's exploit children with their advertising, produce misleading advertising, are culpably responsible for cruelty to animals, are strongly antipathetic to unions, and pay their workers low wages. He ruled that Helen and Dave had libelled McDonald's, but as they proved many of the allegations, they would only owe 3/5 of the claimed damages, £60,000.
Hold your bag up.
We haven't got any money.
And McDonald's don't deserve it if we did have any.
Many other people and within the British public owe a debt of gratitude to these two young people. It is safe to say that they have dared to tread where no others have dared to tread, where those with resources have drawn back.
We are, as you can imagine, broadly satisfied with the judgment given this morning. It's my responsibility to protect our reputation, and that's exactly what we've done. Very serious allegations were made about our company. They were proven to be false.
For McDonald's, the only victory was to win on all 7 issues. They had the libel team, the expert team of lawyers working for the last 5 years behind the scenes and in court for them. That's where the victory lies, in the fact that Dave and Helen won almost half of this case with those odds stacked against them.
As far as we're concerned, what would have been a loss is if we hadn't fought this case and people had been intimidated into
Well, this wasn't a matter of cost, it wasn't a matter of damages. It was a matter of establishing the truth. That's what we set out to do. That's exactly what we did.
We're not going to pay the damages. McDonald's don't deserve a penny, and in any event, we haven't got any money.
Obviously, we're exhausted and stressed. We face bankruptcy, you know, but that is not going to deter us because that's so trivial compared to the need to stand up to the people that are dominating our planet.
Thank you.